Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting of October 4th. The 6 o'clock portion of it, we're going to be going through our agencies for the budget review process. And let's see, we'll go through an order here. Hopefully there are people here. If not, we'll skip by and wait till they come in. First one we have is Gran of VNA.
Good evening. I'm Beth Slepian. I'm the President and CEO of Gran of VNA. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. For those of you who are not familiar with our work, we are a Medicare certified agency, and we provide home care, hospice, and community benefit services to the residents of Wolfeboro. We do provide Medicare covered services, but we also provide services such as adult and childhood bereavement support, volunteer training, spiritual counseling. We provide support in immunization clinics, influenza vaccine clinics, blood pressure and foot clinics, and these are part of our mission work that we do. Last year we served, that's why I don't bring my glasses. Wolfeboro residents received 2,370 visits, according to all of the services we provide. And what I wanted to share with you is the impact that we have on the community. We had the privilege of serving two residents. I have examples of two residents. One was an 84-year-old widower who had strong ties to the Wolfeboro community. For generations, he lived here and played a significant role in the community and the healthcare system, and he received hospice services for over a month. He wished to remain in his home, and with our team, we were able to do so. We provided nursing, spiritual care, which was particularly important to him, as well as bereavement services for his family, which continued through 1 year post his passing. On a weekly basis, he received our services, and for him, it was really important because he was able to live through seeing a new installation at a museum and swimming in the big lake, which we helped facilitate. The last thing I just want to share with you is a note from one of your residents, and it says, "Dear friends, from the moment we talked with you first on the phone, then during intake until the moment you helped us prepare for her trip to Harvard Medical School at 3 a.m., your compassionate hearts shone brightly. For fear of missing one of you, I can't list all of you who took tender care of Mom. You know who you are, and you're amazing. Thank you for finding your niche in this life. We pray you will continue your work, that we may avail ourselves of your help in years to come." I can give you some other specific information if that would be helpful for you in terms of types of visits we provided. Just want to open it up to you what would be helpful.
Okay. I appreciate that. We got the packet's pretty extensive here, the information you provided us, so.
Yes, I will not go through all 31 pages, I believe. I already did today, but you have that.
Yeah, so I'll open up to the board if they have any questions of you on this one.
I agree with you. I had excellent information,
Thank you.
and my questions were answered in the packet, and it's the same as last year.
Yep.
Great.
Anybody else?
Well, thank you for
Okay.
your consideration. It's a privilege
Thank
to
you
serve.
very much. Okay, next one up would be Meals on Wheels.
Good evening. My name is Polly Kane, and I am on the board of Meals on Wheels, and I also deliver meals weekly. I wanted to tell you that we serve 3 counties, or 3 towns: Wolfeboro, Tuftonboro, and Brookfield. These nutritious meals are delivered Monday through Friday. On the weekends, we do not do that. And 71% of our clients receive the food from Wolfeboro only. We prepare 60 meals per day to give to these people. Let's see. And I don't know what, we've been around for a long time. We feed the homebound, and it's just such a necessary organization to have in this town, this small town. So I believe you've all been given materials, so if you have any questions about our program, I'll be glad to help you. As I say, I'm just a board member. I'm not the coordinator. So.
Okay. Board members, any questions?
Again, I think we have plenty of information.
Yep.
Well, we thank you for your continued support. Thank you.
Okay, next agency, the Children's Center. Anybody hear from them here
No, I
yet?
don't see her. I don't see
right.
Terry Ann.
We'll skip down to Tri-County Community Action Plan. We'll skip down another one, the Life Ministries Food Pantry.
Good evening, and first of all, pardon my appearance. I was just released last night from Portsmouth Hospital after a couple of days with a concussion and a brain bleed from a fall at curling practice over at Pop Whalen. So, this is it's an event that was very important to us. So I wanted to make sure that we were represented. So I am Bill Connors. I'm the president of the Life Ministries Food Pantry. The Food Pantry, as many of you know, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded back in 1985. It's overseen by a 15-member board of directors and operated by about 65 absolutely wonderful volunteers. Our mission is to provide access to food security to qualified members of the community with dignity and respect. We provide sufficient food each distribution to provide 12 meals a week for each family member. Since the beginning of COVID-19, we've operated on a drive-through basis on the first and third Wednesdays of every month. A few weeks ago, there was a New York Times article about the effect of the increase in poverty in America during 2002. And it pointed out that the impact of inflation and the end of expanded benefits given during COVID had a tremendous impact on families and particularly on the elderly. And they quoted a small pantry in Chicago saying, "People are working hard. They're just not making ends meet. The cost of living is too much. Rent in particular has soaked up a lot of people's extra earnings." Common Pantry, the name of this place, like many food banks, had demand explode during the pandemic and then recede in 2021, when people received stimulus checks, enhanced unemployment benefits, and the child tax credit, among other assistance. Then as those programs lapsed, demand began to climb again. The operator of the food pantry in Chicago said 2022 just threw us. We were not expecting it. I don't think any food pantry was expecting it. And that really mirrors our experience in Wolfeboro, and it supports our analysis of the situation. We saw a slight drop in our numbers during 2021, but in the middle of 2022, as the economic pressure tightened on families, the demand has increased steadily. We distributed 154,757 meals in all of 2022. As of the end of September, we have had 2,896 family visits, which is an increase of 28%, and we've distributed 165,088 meals for the year to date. I don't have today's numbers yet, but I had a partial report that during the morning shift, we served 98 families today. Last distribution, we served a total of 180 families for the week. Our food budget last fiscal year was $133,000. This year, it's increased to $210,000 due to a combination of increased prices due to inflation and increased need. The food pantry is funded solely through grants and contributions, and we are very fortunate to live in such a generous and caring community. Although we purchase much of our food at low cost through the New Hampshire Food Bank, Inflation has increased even those costs, and it's actually caused us to buy more food on the private market. But we are requesting level funding again in the amount of $15,000. As always, I ask for your favorable consideration of our request, and I thank you on behalf of our Board of Directors, our extraordinary hardworking volunteers, and most of all on behalf of the very grateful clients who we serve. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions? All right, I think we'll take it under advisement, obviously, and thank you for all the work you folks do there.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Starting Point. Anybody here from Starting Point?
I believe they're represented online, Brad.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. My name is Deb Weinstein. I'm the Executive Director of Starting Point, and thank you for hearing us today. And I thank you for allowing me to be on Zoom. I just returned from my once-a-year vacation, and so I'm just catching up on a lot of things. I'm sure you're familiar with Starting Point, but just a quick overview. We serve victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. We offer services such as shelter, lethal assessment protocols with the police, court advocacy, emergency housing, 24/7 crisis hotline, services at both Huggins and Memorial for both domestic violence and sexual assault victims, including SANE exams. We have 3 locations. One is the Advocacy Center in Conway. The other is our office at Mountainside Business Center in Ossipee. And we also am located at a confidential shelter. We provide prevention, education, community outreach, all of Carroll County, including Wolfeboro. So last year, if you look at the chart, we've supplied a chart of all the towns and what we've asked for. So last year, we asked the town of Conway, Wolfeboro, for $6,728. We served 41 victims in Wolfeboro and provided 353 services, not including bed nights. This year, we're asking for $6,901, which is an increase, I believe, in about $174. We've provided services, 353 services. I'm sorry, I apologize, late in the day. 469 services in the town of Wolfeboro, and we've served 42 victims. It's an additional 116 services. As we're finding our demand, not only for the level of victims, but also the intense amount of services to help people get away and also become independent for the victims and their children, who are also victims themselves often, has been great. We have doubled the number of services as we have in, as you can see, we've almost doubled in Wolfeboro, and we've doubled historically throughout Carroll County. We have seen a dramatic increase, and that's disturbing, but also helpful in that our prevention education services that we provide in the area of the Wolfeboro School District has increased. So has the ability and the awareness of victims to see what they're in and also to call us. So we also provided 3,641 nights in emergency housing, which may be a little less than last year due to the shortage and the crisis in housing. We have not been providing a regular housing program, but we have been providing emergency housing and working with coordinated entry. So basically asking for another $176 over last year. And we realize that the town monies go directly to victims. They're not paying for salaries. Our salaries are covered by federal and state grants. They are going directly to the town of Wolfeboro and their victims.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any?
Oh,
Thank you.
Board members, do we have any questions? I don't see any right now, so I thank you for the information and the service that you folks provide.
Thank you, and feel free to reach out to us anytime.
Okay, Kingswood Youth Center. Have somebody here from Kingswood Youth Center? No? Northern Human Services? Senior Center and Meals?
I wonder, people think
Ron.
it's,
Caregivers of South Carolina, South Carroll County? They're way out of their way, aren't they?
yeah, they provide a lot of services from down there.
Dinnerbell.
Yep, there's Dinnerbell's here.
Go.
Good evening. I'm Bill Peterson, the rector at All Saints Church. We have been hosting Dinnerbell for the last dozen years or so and serving as its fiscal agent since the last change in welfare director 9 years, almost 10 years ago. We are asking for level funding again at $6,000, which is about a third of our budget. We spent $16,000 last year. Half of the $10,000 remaining expenses came from offerings of our guests for this community meal program, and the other half were covered by the church. And so we'd love to ask for more money. I'm planting the seed this year because we will probably do it next year. But as you are well aware of inflation costs, particularly around food, our expenses have gone up dramatically. And so we love to serve the community. We are open every Thursday evening at 5 o'clock. We're open, so come on down and have dinner with us. It's like sitting at a diner. There may be a lawyer at one end of the table and someone who is unhoused at the other end of the table. So it is a community meal in the truest sense. Are there any questions?
I just want to make one comment. I want to thank the All Saints Episcopal Church for providing this to our community. You've kept it going for us over many different times when we've had issues, and I for one, really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. Great.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, CASA of New Hampshire. Carroll County Transit. End 68 Hours of Hunger.
Good evening. I'm Eileen Levitt, and I'm one of the coordinators representing Jan Brooks and Carol Simpson, who usually attend with me. And 68 Hours of Hunger has worked in our community for about 10 years now, feeding elementary and preschool children in the Governor Wentworth Regional School District. We have so many people and so many communities to thank for the support that we've received. Wolfeboro certainly has been generous to us in every way, and if you were involved with a raffle or purchased a raffle ticket this year, you would see there were over 100 local businesses that contributed to our raffle and made it a huge success. All of our funding comes from our donations, our town support, and from any fundraising activities that we have. If you look at the numbers that we provided for you at the end of last year, we were feeding 130 students across the district, and 17 of them were in Wolfeboro, Carpenter, and Crescent Lake schools. As the start of this year now, we are feeding 144 students. So I think I'm echoing what some of the other food pantries are saying, that they're seeing increases, and we expect to see increases, and we expect to see the price of foods continue to go up, and oftentimes we're seeing a challenge even finding the particular items that we pack each week. We have about 40 volunteers that are so faithful and provide such stability to our program. We have the Governor Wentworth School District to thank for providing, since the pandemic, they have been providing transportation. We used to load all the bags into the back of pickup trucks and drive them to the schools, but since the start of the pandemic and the program that they had with free lunches, they took us under their wing. It's right on their way by, and it really helps to create some great continuity. We're asking for level funding, the same as we did last year. We spent $81,000 last year, and over 5,100 bags went home with children last year, and we expect there'll be more this year. We thank you for your consideration, and if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? No? Oh, thank you. And,
Thank you.
Thank you for the program, yes.
Thank you.
Next, White Horse Recovery.
They aren't getting anything, so I don't think they're coming.
They don't come
They
in.
have not, they're not getting anything. They didn't ask for anything.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Kingswood Youth Center is here now.
Yeah, Kingswood Youth Center just
What about
walked in.
Children
Okay.
Unlimited?
Kingswood Youth Center, you guys just came in? Yeah, you are, yep.
They're here too? No, I know, but just walked in.
Good evening. I'm Zachary Porter, Executive Director of the Kingswood Youth Center. First of all, huge thank you for many, many years of past support from the town of Wolfeboro. Our request this year is to be considered for level funding in the amount of $5,000. We offer, as we always have, we offer free out-of-school programs for the 7th through 12th grade students in the Governor Wentworth Regional School District. Wolfeboro is consistently our second most served town, second to Ossipee. So last year we served 33 Wolfeboro students. I'm sorry, we served 15 Wolfeboro students. No, I'm sorry, we served 15 different Wolfeboro students, and this school year, we're already up to 29 total Wolfeboro students. So we offer a multitude of different programs. We offer an after-school program. We offer school vacation programs. We offer summer programs. This past year, for the first time ever, we grew our summer program to a point such that we now offer as many hours of service week to week in the summer as we do throughout the school year. And that it was a huge step for us, and we're really proud to be able to offer that free service right through the summer, especially with the setbacks that have been incurred by people of all age groups, but especially adolescents amidst these years of the pandemic and the period thereafter. We continue to do our Club 121 mentoring program. That originated as a program in the schools. Amidst the pandemic, we moved the program onto our site, and we've continued to deliver it in that fashion. So that is a combination of one-to-one mentoring and small group mentoring that we offer, and we host that for both high school and middle school students. And what we've found is by moving it to our site and combining a group model with a one-to-one model, we've been able to reach even more students. We also continue to operate our own free food pantry. So that was a new resource in 2020 amidst the arising needs during the pandemic again. But right as we observed just the needs we were meeting through that, there was no way we were going to cease or stall those efforts at all. So we adopted it immediately as a mainstay program. So in each year since 2020, we've distributed 15 to 20,000 pounds of food to local families each year. So last year we did just over 15,000 pounds of food, and that is a variety of balanced food. It includes fresh produce, frozen meats and poultry. It includes dairy and eggs, pantry items and household essentials. And then we also continue to offer our KYC closet, so that's free lightly used clothing and accessories. And again, that's a very, very well utilized resource that takes lightly used clothing from elsewhere into the community, and it rehomes it to teens and their families who can make really good use of those resources. So again, that's extremely well utilized. I'll be speedy in just talking about exactly what we do during all those programs, because I know I think most of you are pretty familiar with kind of the basics, but we do a lot with arts and creativity, a lot with life skills instruction and career exploration. We do a lot with fitness and recreation, lots of community service, and we've really expanded that aspect. We've done a lot with Parks and Recreation to help put on the various events that they host for our community. We do a lot with the Wolfeboro Rotary Club to help them in their efforts to raise money for local youth. We have spent a lot of time at the Food Pantry Garden, and that's been a fabulous relationship because we've used our time to contribute to that community effort. We've been able to teach skills in gardening that will last a lifetime, and then we've also been fortunate to feature that locally grown produce in our food pantry. So we have steadily increased our programs since 2019, and just to provide some perspective on that, in 2019, in the years immediately before that, we offered about 550 hours of service each year. We rose that to about 650 the next year. Last year, or the year before last, we did 775 hours, and now we do 800 hours of service every year. So since 2019, that's a pretty substantial increase from 550 to 800 hours of direct service. The beauty is, in the early days of the pandemic, of course, we were in a position where we had to lower our group sizes. We're really fortunate that's not the case anymore. So we now offer those expanded services, but we serve pre-COVID group sizes. So we've been doing the best to spread the word and let everyone know we truly believe that we're offering the best of both worlds in those regards. We are also fortunate to receive town funding historically and in these most recent years from the towns of Ossipee, New Durham, Tuftonboro, as well as the Governor Wentworth Regional School District, and then, of course, Wolfeboro. So again, thank you so much for your past support and for hearing our request, and I'm happy to address any questions.
Board, any questions? Zach? No?
Thank you,
Zach.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Children's Center arrived.
Who did?
The Children's Center.
Okay. Children's Center. Yeah.
Good evening, and thank you very much for having me. I'm Terry Ann Cox. I'm the Executive Director at the Children's Center. Just wanted to touch on a few things per our application and request for this year. As you know, we are nearly 50 years here in the town of Wolfeboro, a pillar in the community offering affordable, early child care and education. And one of the things I did want to underscore this year is just a reminder that the affordability that is key to our mission is really evident for every single family that attends the Children's Center. Every child is subsidized at least $4,000 a year for their tuition, which helps our working families keep the costs within reach. That said, we are also able to provide families where it is outside of their reach, either state scholarship or center scholarship, of which the town of Wolfeboro has been very generous in helping us meet. As I mentioned in our cover letter, specifically 66 families in the past year have been aided by the Wolfeboro town and taxpayer money. We suspect that that will be more in the 70 range in the coming year based on the families that we have enrolled. We support approximately 150 families from all surrounding towns, and we are currently at mostly full capacity, although we are struggling given the staffing crisis that we have within the sector. We currently have 110 full-time equivalent children that attend, and we are continuing, though, to try to ensure that we can meet more, but what we need is staffing. What you would see as a difference this year over last year is we are going to see an increase of about 13% in the salaries that we are offering our teachers to ensure that we're retaining them and also recruiting new teachers into the field. Without them, we obviously don't exist. That all said, we are requesting level funding from the town of Wolfeboro, and the other key change is we are outreaching Ossipee this year. For the first time, I will be headed to Ossipee at the end of the month to request from their selectmen a $5,000 contribution toward their families who do receive about 19% of our tuition assistance. That said, though, I think you're very familiar. We are internally grateful for the town's support, but if there are any questions based on our request of level funding of $10,000, I'm more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you. Board members, any questions?
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Very good. I'll be back for the budget meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
And I think I saw Caregivers of South Carolina again.
You're into South Carolina
am, aren't I?
tonight.
Southern Carroll County.
It's the weather out there.
It's gotta
be the weather.
The weather, yeah.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Barbara Hunt, representing the caregivers of Southern Carroll County and vicinity. Most of you are probably familiar with us. We've been serving the community for the past 35 years, providing transportation to medical appointments for the citizens of Wolfeboro, as well as Tuftonboro, Alton, and Ossipee. We do out-of-town appointments as well as in-town appointments, and we're the only organization like this that provides door-to-door service for people at no charge to the clients. We're an all-volunteer organization, and our primary expense is to reimburse our volunteer drivers for their gas and mileage. And we have some other expenses for insurance, telephone costs, and some miscellaneous items. Last year, we reduced our request to $4,000, and this year we're asking for the same level reduced amount of $4,000 from the towns. The way our operation works is we have a dozen volunteer coordinators who, when somebody needs a ride, they call into Caregivers number. Whoever is on shift takes that call and then contacts our various volunteer drivers to set up a match and get them an appointment. So you have our package with our financial requests, our usual information, and while I'm happy to answer questions about that, what I'd like to do with my time tonight is let you hear from some of the people that we serve and what it means to them in particular. There's many examples of individuals like this and their families who have benefited from the services. A lot of times we get feedback through thank you notes we get from people, and sometimes with donations that they send in as well. There was one who came from a client who had to go to multiple cancer treatments and wrote of how difficult it could be without the support system and what a difference Caregivers made to her. Another wrote of how she didn't know how she would have managed a recovery without Caregivers' help. And we also have had feedback from families of people who needed assistance and what it meant to them that Caregivers was able to give them some free time and help with their burden. In particular, there's one person who benefited from Caregivers who wrote up to us that I would like to read you what she wrote, because her experience had a little bit of a different ending than most of them. So she said, I'm writing this letter in support of the Caregivers of Southern Carroll County and Vicinity, Inc. I am a retired New Hampshire elementary school teacher. About 10 years ago, I found myself retiring due to poor health. I also had to give up my car as I could no longer drive. As I was living in rural New Hampshire, I was dependent on friends and neighbors to drive me to doctor's appointments. I soon realized that I needed much more help than my friends and neighbors could provide. Someone suggested Caregivers to me, and I reached out to them. Caregivers coordinators found drivers to bring me to appointments. The drivers were friendly and caring and got me to and from my appointments, exclamation point. I can't thank caregivers enough for the difference they made in my life. I was able to stay in my home and seek the medical help I needed, which is one of the things we want to be able to do, is help people stay in their homes. The twist with her, which I will continue the kicker of her story, she says, I recently became a coordinator for caregivers. I wanted to give back to this organization, which has meant so much to me. Caregivers is a stellar organization, and the people who are involved in it are amazing individuals. We are blessed to have this program in our area. So this is why we're asking the town for your support. We couldn't do it without the support of the 4 towns that help us. And as I say, unless you have any questions about anything, I thank you for your time and thank the town for its support.
Thanks, Barbara. Board members, any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
Again, thank you for the service. Okay, let's see. Has Tri-County CAP action plan come in yet? Nope. Northern Human Services?
They're here online, I believe, Brad.
They're online, okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Melita Saraselli. I'm the Mental Health Director of Carroll County for Northern Human Services. And I want to first start off by thanking the town for their long support of us and their continued support of the Mental Health Center. We do have an office in the town of Wolfeboro on Bay Street. We serve a vast majority of clients out of that office. We offer psychiatric medication services, case management, therapy services, and we run a 24/7 mobile crisis unit out of Carroll County. A lot of our clinicians in the Wolfeboro office help support that program, and we see a lot of clients come into the Wolfeboro office through our mobile crisis services. We are asking for a level funding this year of $7,449, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions on Northern Human Services? Okay, well, thank you very much and for the service and everything, and we'll take these under consideration.
Great, thank you. Have a good night.
Senior Center and Meals? Not yet.
That one's going to go away.
CASA of New Hampshire? That's right. Yep. All right. Children's Unlimited.
I'm Shelley Rondeau. I work for Gran of VNA, but I'm representing Children Unlimited for their request for funding for the Comprehensive Family Support Services program they provide. So they provide services to any and all families within the Carroll County area from birth to 21 who live in Carroll County. The referrals come from multiple sources, from doctors, mental health professionals, DCYF, local school systems, and self-referrals that are also made. Funding these agencies for this program include the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Child and Youth and Family, DCYF, and the Division of Public Health. The services they provide is the Kinship Navigator Program, the Child Health Support Program, which I am the nurse in for the lower part of Southern Carroll County, the Watch Me Grow program, and the Resource Center. The Children Unlimited is requesting funding of $2,730 again this year to support the Family Resource Center, the state contract under which we provide the Comprehensive Family Support Service does not cover the full cost of running this program. Any questions?
Any questions for the board?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Lakes Region Visiting Nurse Association. There's a new one this year. So I think we've gone through them all. There's nobody out here that we've missed, is there? Okay. So we had Tri-County Community Action we haven't seen, and the Lake Sturgeon Visiting Nurse, just the two of them, right?
And CASA.
Oh, and CASA, thank you. So we'll see if they come in later on. If not, we'll have to, see if they'll schedule a visit us some other
later.
time.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we will now move on with our,
Do we do the welfare budget? We got the welfare budget in the packet. Are we to do that tonight, the welfare?
We can.
okay, yep,
Get it out of the way. So the welfare budget, you have, contains a $5,065 increase, which is 6.9%. The bulk of that is for rent and utilities.
okay, so the 100 series are on page 43 there. Any questions on the 100 series? I didn't get anything on the 200 series, but they're, oh yeah, they go along with the 100 series anyway. 300 series? .600 series? .800 series?
The issue I have with the 800 series is I would like to see where we are when we get to the end of October, so I can get a read on whether 62 will make it.
Okay. Yeah,
So we may want to revisit that, just to get a look at where, I want to know where we are at the end of October.
Okay. Yep. We'll put that on a revisit.
Yep. That's,
Any other ones? Okay. Take care of that one. All right, now we'll go on with our regular agenda here. It being about 6:40, 6:41 here, getting into our regular agenda. Mr. Pena, do we have a need for non-public this evening?
We do, Mr. Chairman. Two items, reputation and legal.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is minutes for September 20th. Any
yes,
comments? Linda?
Yeah, I have one change on page 8, and the motion, the second motion on the page does not have who made the motion. We have the second, but we don't have who made the motion. So I'll say I made the motion,
Okay.
okay? And that just needs to be added.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Now, we also had the September 6th minutes. I believe we tabled those at our last meeting, didn't we?
Correct.
And I forgot to put mine back in the packet for tonight.
So did I.
So
Shall
they
we
weren't-
hold them on for one more
hold
time?
them on for one more time, okay?
Yeah, I did the same thing. I meant to
right.
pick them up.
I thought about it a day or two ago, but,
I thought about it this morning,
Oh.
and keep on remembering it.
so I have some public hearings this evening. Let's see, the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 4th, 2023, at approximately 6:30 PM at the Great Hall, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, for the acceptance of unanticipated donation valued at an amount that is under $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A, relative to donation of 1929 Alaki skis from Stephen Reinfurt for the town of Wolfeboro for the Alaki Ski Lodge. Chuck, going to present this one to us?
Good evening, I'm Chuck Smith, Operations Director of Abenaki Ski Area in Pop Whalen. I'm here to represent Steve Reinford on the skis he'd like to donate and put above the mantle at the ski area. They were from Germany that he received from a family over there when he stayed there. And he's going to have some type of ceremony in December to accept the skis. If you need more information, I can have Steve come up and speak on that.
Okay. What I'll do first, I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody in the public wants to make a comment on this donation. So now we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions you'd like to hear?
So I found this interesting. I was looking through and I found 2019 minutes where the donation was brought to our attention and kind of accepted by us, but I don't think we ever actually officially did it under a public hearing. So it's good to see this coming forward now as a public hearing so that we can get the skis put up, because it's a great story.
Oh, it's a great story.
Yeah. Assume they're going to be put on display up in the lodge somewhere?
Yeah, above the mantle on the
Yep.
fireplace, they'll be on there.
I think that's a nice spot for them. Yep. Would you like to come up and say anything, or? Oh, sure, come on up.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reinford. It was a 10-year journey to find you. And upon finding you in the international community and the national community, I fell in love with Wolfeboro. By being a pro patroller and a person that works in the first response rescue internationally, 2 years in Asia, 28 years in Europe, I brought home an important obligation to the last remaining family member for their father's skis, 1929 Algoys, Lettner Edge, impeccable condition, put away in the last position 81 years ago. They're not just for a display momentarily. They are a gift for the finest hill that I've been able to find that deserves them. The oldest, truly, community-operated ski area in America. It captured my heart, but it has captured Europe's heart. This event has two parts. November 11th, Veterans Day, will be a private, semi-private, for just the Abenaki race team, coaches, and the people that make Abenaki internally a wonderful team. We will unveil them together, especially with the kids, because they're tomorrow's future that will carry the story of what the skis really represent. It's behind the story of why you are the stewards that will carry that forward, like the Military Museum here does, because they also capture a particular time period that is very tender. On that day, when they're unveiled, the kids are able to see them, touch them, feel them, have the whole story of the experience of the ski, but not the man that owned the ski. That's part two. When they're able to do that, when they're up on the wall, they'll never see them again in their finished position with the beautiful bamboo poles between them over the fireplace of Abenaki. This stewardship will have transferred to this town, to a wonderful location that is going to be around a long time, long after I'm gone, and that's the exciting part. It truly is. Thank you for that smile, because you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. With that, on December 9th comes the formal, semi-formal event where from international to national takes place. We have invited, and we're still waiting in the wings right now. It took from the time period of your first approval that did happen in front of this board, then we got hit with pandemic. Then it went into last year's time period of, just sideboard for a moment. We went into last year and everybody was busy getting back into the groove. We put it to now when we're really all moving smoother together. Governor Sununu has been invited. In conjunction with that, from the dignitary position, the Boston Consulate for Germany has been invited. Because the real important aspect of this is the man that owned them, the man that inspired this whole particular experience that I've been a part of, that you are now a part of, that will be a part of Wolfeboro internationally. 2 German newspapers are very much following where this will outcome. With that, the military aspect of this is the 10th Mountain Division is being invited to come and do their color presentation with Germany in honor to the man. Because when you know the whole story, which we have the local journalist, Joshua Spalding already has his story, Joshua Shaw, the international journalist, already has his story. Abenaki is going to go on the map a new way and really be seen as incredibly remarkable. Well, you already are, but remarkable from the point of what it really encapsulates. And I look back at these men back here because they're all part of this. Everybody on this corner of this room over here has made Abenaki what it is. I just came into it and found a gem and was able to rub shoulders with it. With that, when this takes place, we all have a chance to really celebrate what humanity was about. And the rest of the story, like Paul Harvey would say, will come forward, and I know you will not be disappointed. And that's the best way I could put it in this moment. And thank you for allowing me to come back this evening with Chuck. It's a pleasure to have this new director with us because neat things are going to happen at this hill as it continues to grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the story there, too. That was good. So, any other questions or comments from the board? Somebody would like to make a motion?
Motion to accept unanticipated donation valued at an amount that is under $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to donation of 1929 Alaki skis from Stephen Reinford to the town of Wolfeboro for the Abenaki Ski Lodge.
Second.
A motion by Luke, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thanks again. Thank you very much. Okay, next public hearing. Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at approximately 6:30 p.m. at the Great Hall Town Hall in Wolfeboro for the acceptance of unanticipated funds for an amount donated that is over $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to donation of funds up to $500,000 from the Wolfeboro Cross Country Ski Association for the purpose of installing snowmaking along the Abenaki Cross Country ski trails.
So this presentation has come to you a couple times in the past. They have raised the funds required to do the snowmaking expansion. Basically just need to formalize this so that they can get moving and hopefully have this installed and operational for the 2023-2024 ski season.
Thank you. I'll open up a public hearing if anybody has any questions or comments on this, this donation. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, as Mr. Pino said, we've heard this a couple times from the Cross Country Ski Association, and we know just about all the information, so.
And it's exciting. It's going to take place this year.
It is. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion for the acceptance of unanticipated funds for the amount of donated that is over $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to donation of funds up to $500,000 from the Wolfeboro Cross Country Ski Association for the purpose of installing new snowmaking along the Abenaki Cross Country ski trails.
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The Cross Country Ski Association is out there listening. Thank you very much. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 4th, approximately 6:30 at the Great Hall in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, for the acceptance of unanticipated donation in an amount that is under $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to donation of $500 for the Pop Whalen Scholarship Fund.
So it's my understanding that this is the creation of an account to be able to help families who may not be able to afford ice time at the arena, equipment, and be part of an event out there. So that this is a scholarship that would help to offset some of those costs. And I think if there's more information, Chuck may be able to answer. Short of that, I don't have a whole lot of information.
Okay. At this time, I'll open up the public hearing if anybody has any questions or comments. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any questions?
I think this is great.
Yeah.
To have money, to have a set fund that people know that they can come and get a scholarship.
Do we know who's going to administer this and stuff, Mr. Pinio, or? Like the donation?
Yeah, I'm not sure who the agent to expend is going to be. I think that still has to be worked out.
Okay, but we can still move ahead and get it started anyway here, so. Board members, would you like to make a motion?
Make a motion to acceptance of unanticipated donation in the amount of, that's under $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to a donation of $500 for the Pop Whalen Scholarship Fund.
Second. Motion by Luke, seconded by Dave. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
I'll abstain.
Abstain, okay. Next on our agenda is our bulk vote. We have two manifests in there. Week of September 22nd for $1.496 million. And on September 29th, actually, there's no accounts payable run on that week. We have our Department of Revenue annual filings, the MS1, the MS4. We have an intent to cut wood and timber on Cowper Road. 1, 2, 3 property tax credit exemptions. And that's it for the bulk vote.
Motion to accept the bulk vote.
I'll second.
Motion to accept the bulk vote by Luke, seconded by Linda. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Board committee appointments. We have a Sidewalk Committee that we've been talking about establishing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names that have volunteered to serve on this committee. I'll list them off here. Brenda Jorrit. These are all going to be terms that expire March of 2025, so it'll be basically a 2-year and a half term anyway. Mary DeVries, Michael Bilodeau, Bobby Bodman, and Shirley Fallong. Are any of them here who want to speak to us? If not, we can just move ahead.
I'll make a motion to appoint those 5 people.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Brian. Although, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. New business. Request for parking spaces in front of front 4 cellars for October 8th.
Good evening. My name is Michael Bilodeau. I'm one of the proprietors of Front 4 Cellars. And down at 13 Railroad, we are having an Oyster Fest on this coming Sunday from 2 to 6, and would like to get some permission to occupy 2 parking spaces on the Central Ave side so that we can keep the oysters and everything outside of the venue. We have limited space in the building, so we want to be able to keep the oysters out there so we can keep all the people inside.
Okay.
Any questions?
And I do understand, reading your thing here, that you are saying that there will be no alcohol on the outside. You'll be keeping that on the inside of the building, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Just to clarify that. Board members, any questions?
I just have one comment. I think we will be okay in October, but I don't want to get into the habit of doing this in the summer months because of the need for parking spaces. That would be my concern.
I was thinking we could end up parlaying this into our sidewalk committee. Something, because if this starts happening piecemeal again, because we issue an allowance to one business, then all of a sudden it happens in June, and then oh wait, let's push it to the first week of July, that's before the, and it could have a snowball effect.
And my other problem is the one other area that we've allowed some use of the parking spaces is after hours. So it's like starts at 5:30. So that's the other, when you start in the daytime when there are more people. But I think the one other place we did was, after 5:30.
Was that after 5:30 from the chamber? When they had their...
No, we gave up permanent places. That was for the bubble.
No. The Chamber of Commerce, their event...
Brian, I said that. Only one I remember in terms of giving extended was a bubble. I do not know. We did do a bank of ones for the chamber, yes.
Yeah. So this will be number 2 when we... So again, we're going to have a policy for this so that...
I think we do have a policy. I don't have any problem dealing, it's right up, it's just coming up, so we should let you do it and then work it out on how we address that in the future.
Correct.
Appreciate that.
Correct.
I kind of agree. I think, the fact that it's in October, even though it's a holiday weekend, that section of the street there on a Sunday afternoon isn't that busy for the parking and stuff downtown. So I'm okay with this time around, so. Any other questions or comments?
No. It could be a busy weekend, though. On Columbus Day weekend, we do get 6 tour buses and lots of people walking around, and so. But I think it's okay to do it this time, but we are going to have to look at it as a policy going forward.
Yeah, I agree. We need to do a policy, but I agree with Brett. Sunday usually is a lot slower down there and less issues with parking spaces. But I do think he's right. We need to come up with a policy. We'll add that
I'll
to our...
second your motion, Linda.
Okay.
So Linda
sounds
made a
good.
motion
I
to-
made that motion to grant it.
The motion, Dave seconded it. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, it's not
Not on the agenda.
on the agenda, so.
That was the last
Well,
meeting.
That was the last
That was the last meeting. That was the
Yeah,
last meeting.
I'm not sure, Josephine.
But
You were on the last meeting agenda.
the last meeting, you were on that agenda, and you didn't come to it, so. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Okay, we're going to move on with our agenda here tonight. No. During public input, you can, but we're on our agenda now. You're not on the agenda with us, so at public input, you can speak to us at that time, okay? So next on the agenda is, next on the agenda is the emergency shelter for the Pop Whalen Ice Arena and Arts Center discussion. Tom?
Hi, Tom Zotti, Fire Chief, Emergency Management Director. Several weeks ago, Chuck Smith contacted me about processes for opportunities for grant funding for generators at the Pop Whalen facility. And as similar to what we did with the library not too long ago, it's become clear that Homeland Security and Emergency Management at the state level looks more favorably on these types of things when they're part of our emergency operations plan and designated as shelters for the town and during emergency incidents. So what I ask you to do tonight is approve addition of the Pop Whalen Ice and Arts Center to our list of emergency shelters in our operations plan. I believe with a motion and hopefully approval and attaching the minutes to the plan, that would suffice as far as the state is concerned. And Chuck's here I'm sure he can answer more specifics about the generator proposal than I can. But.
Linda?
Yeah, has the library been granted funds for their generator? We're going to start having 2 competitive grant applications, and that's
I'm not sure they're competitive, so
Okay,
to speak. I'm
explain.
not sure they'd be one against the other, would be pitted against the other. I don't believe they have. We're still awaiting some of the paperwork required to file with the state. They literally want every vendor quote, from the generator supplier to the electrician to the fuel to the person who digs the trench to get the propane from the fuel to the. So we're still compiling that. I've started an initial application, and that's kind of where it sits right now.
So you don't think that they would look and say, well, we granted one for Wolfeboro? Or I have no problem doing this, but I don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot and ask too many
I
times.
can pursue that tomorrow and see if I can get a better answer, but the impression I've been led to believe is that it wouldn't necessarily be competing against each other. And as I understand it, it's typically a 50-50 grant.
Is there a limit or a required or desired amount of shelter areas that you have in a town? And is it based on your population? A certain number of square feet, beds, or how do they determine how many we're allowed, how many we can have, so on and so on?
I think that's a local decision as part of our emergency operations plan. Initially, and I think technically, currently, under the plan from 2018, it still calls the public safety building the emergency shelter, and I think we all agree for obvious reasons that's not the best first choice. So as town facilities have been upgraded and expanded and that sort of thing, we've looked at adding those facilities. I'm not sure there's an upper limit. I mean, at some point, I guess as a practical matter, you reach it.
Is this room one?
I don't believe it's technically designated one. Now, that doesn't mean we can't use it. We've offered it up as a cooling shelter during, say, the 4th of July activities and stuff like that. But it's not listed in our operations plan. We could pursue that if
because we have a generator right here.
No, true.
So, it would be good if we had the Great Hall, and then we had the library, and we had our new public safety building. And
I think having those options is a good thing based on the nature of whatever the emergency might be.
The location.
Or the location of the emergency, sure. If it involves access on South Main Street, that may take the library out of the picture.
Correct.
But having options is I think it's a good direction to go.
If it happens in a certain section of town, it's easier to move people to a close shelter.
Brian?
Yes, Dave.
Tom, this generator, will it be used for power just for Pop Whalen, or will it be for the lodge and the maintenance building?
If I might, if it's okay, if Chuck can come up, he can talk to more of the specifics of what he's working on, I think.
So the generator will power the ski area and the ice arena, not the maintenance building.
Not maintenance?
Not the maintenance building.
Okay.
I have one other, we're going to have to come up with the other 50%. Have we budgeted for that at all? And as I recall with the library, there was a cost to install, which was not little. So at some point, we should know what the full package is.
So I'm getting a price from Jaguar Electric on the generator.
Okay.
And the labor.
Okay.
And also, they're going to include in that saying the generator on top of a vault.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it. So at some point, we should get that whole,
Correct.
Right.
amount. Tom, how long has the library been going after their generator? What are we looking at another budget cycle before we'd have to have the other half?
To be honest, I'm not sure we've proceeded that far yet. I'm still waiting for them to provide the vendors' quotes and stuff so we can get the state involved and start to formulate how it's going to look.
So it's okay if we don't have it for this one in the 2024 budget, if we look at putting it in the 20...
If we make it by 2025, it'd be great.
Okay, so we're...
Take a little bit.
Okay, that's where I was kind of going with it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're about a year out to...
Yeah.
get
Grants, if awarded, typically come with a performance period. You have to complete the project
Okay.
in 12 months or something like that. That would obviously
Yeah.
overlap into another budget cycle.
I just didn't want to I wanted to make sure we didn't have to add it to this one that we just got. If we say go, do it, and I thought that was the case, so I'm fine, absolutely fine.
And I also believe, too, what we're being asked to do here is to just, to add the Pop Whalen Ice and Art Center to the emergency operations plan as a, to be used as a station for us there. So pending what happens with the application and stuff like that, if the generator doesn't come in, then we could always, well, it'll probably have to come off, because if we don't have a generator there, it's not going to function as a facility for you, so.
And it certainly could if the emergency didn't involve loss of power. It was something else.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else from board members?
Okay.
Somebody like to make a motion on this, or are we just having a discussion about it to start with here to get it?
I guess that's what I thought, we were just going to have a discussion.
Right.
That's why I asked the questions.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll proceed forward, and more information to come.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Now, discussion of preliminary ambulance plan.
Okay, so in your budget book, inside the front cover, you will find about 30-page document that is the preliminary ambulance options moving forward. It's currently out for peer review. What we'd like to be able to do is at the October 12th meeting, when we're reviewing the fire department operating budget and ambulance budgets, to go through them. The plan that you have in front of you, it goes through a background of how we got to this point of considering taking on ambulance services in-house. It looks at various levels of changes, including startup costs, annual operating costs, and miscellaneous costs through 2027 at various staffing levels. Those staffing levels range from a status quo, maintaining an existing contracted service, to a total of staffing level up to potentially 20, and then an in-between of 16. In the 2024 budget, the department will be at a level of 12. This does go through and provide you the operational costs to outfit the staff, and the capital expenses that go along with it. It is not an inexpensive endeavor. It is extremely pricey, and there's going to have to be a lot of hard decisions made as we move through this. I would anticipate for that 12th meeting, you'll have a full PowerPoint presentation, but this document will have you very well versed with the best options that we've been able to put together at this point for that October 12th meeting.
All right, thank you. Any questions at this point from the board?
It's hard to have anything to say when we haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
I can see him rolling his eyes, so I'm sure we're going to have a lot of reading to do.
There's a lot of information here, it looks like,
Yeah,
so.
I-
And a lot of numbers to go
Right.
through.
And I think the other thing is, not only do we have that to try to go over, but we also have the budget to go over, so we've got a lot on our plate.
Correct.
In the next couple of weeks, so here we go.
Yep. Here we go. Okay. Next, the budget schedule and budget books.
So, budget. You have your budget books in front of you. They are complete. Inside of the front, there's a letter from me. That letter outlines the current operating budget. that current operating budget, my goal was a 9.75% increase. Didn't even come close. Currently, we are sitting at a 17.9% increase in the general fund operating budget. In that letter, there is a quick summary of $2.5 million worth of those increases, which I'll quickly go over. We see an increase in the executive budget of $70,000. The town manager's requesting a wage and benefit study estimated at $25,000. Property reevaluation in the amount of $200,000. Personnel administration for health and medical insurances, $359,000. Property and liability insurance increases, $16,000. Ambulance service increase to the contracted service, $474,000. Fire truck lease, $182,000. Increase in the highway department for maintenance supplies, road treatment, and gravel, $111,000. Solid waste tipping fees, $184,000. Debt service increase, $565,000. Sewer transfer increase, $71,000. Last year we had a 2 union contracts that were ratified. The AFSCME contract, 3.5% for $75,000. Police contract, 3% for $28,000. Non-union wage adjustments, $80,000. And the hiring of that third firefighter, all in, half of last year, half of this year, $102,000. That makes up 2.56 million, or 15.4% of the wage increases. We have got a lot of work to do to reel this in. We've gone through the budget. I think there's additional items where we can make cuts, but I also wanted to bring the budget forward that allowed the department heads to do their jobs. With that said, the overall budget is $34,429,000. And additionally, inside of your books, behind the letter from me, which I just described, you'll see the current estimate for warrant articles for 2024, based on what we went through for the CIP process. That spreadsheet contains the operating budget. So when you look at the bottom right, that is the all-in number for the 2024 operating budget. I wish I had some better news.
Yeah, I think we all kind of expected going in, this is going to be a tough year, a lot of tough choices to make, so.
I didn't think we'd get nearly that percentage of increase. I'm dumbfounded.
I'm surprised. I was having a hard time swallowing 9.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, and what concerns me is that we've got 2 next week, plus this, can we really, as a board, at that rate, have enough time to really digest all that's here? And so that's my concern. A lot of reading, a lot of trying to think what to do with that, because I can't see us going out with that kind of an increase. It will be dead on arrival.
Might be a lot of revisits to, as we go through these things, to see which ones as we get into more of them, to see which ones weigh more with us to keep or cut.
We may have to have a bigger revisit list. If we're
That's what I meant,
questionable,
yeah.
we may, you're right, that may be the way to go about it.
It's going to be a very difficult year.
You know, and just mark those that we can't, there's some that are easy, and then there's some are going to be.
Right.
All right.
Yep. All right, thank you, Jim.
No, I don't want to say thank you.
Well, I wish I could say you're welcome, but I really can't at this point.
Thanks for giving us this headache.
Yeah. Okay, next, we have well, do we need to do an approval? You asked for an approval on the budget schedule anyway.
No, I mean, I think you have it, I identified some dates that I won't be available.
Right.
And I'm not terribly concerned about.
Yep.
I'd like to, in terms of the dates, I would like the board to take a look at the idea of meeting on November 9th. Jim is going to be away for both of our board meetings for vacation and time that he deserves. But I hate to go a whole month with all that we have here without having at least one meeting in November with him present. That is a Thursday where we don't have a budget committee meeting. For Brian and myself, just adds one more meeting. But I just really think that it makes sense for us to have a meeting with him.
That'd work for you, Jim?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that, too. The rest of the board?
Yes.
Yep, so what
Normal time?
Yeah.
Normal time?
You want to do it at 6 or 6:30?
And one of the things I would like to focus on that one, the fire department will have taken the ambulance contract the night before to the budget committee, and that there may be some things that we should talk about after we get some input from them. So that was kind of why I targeted that date.
Want to go for like 6:30 as
Yeah,
a regular meeting?
Yeah, I would
Yep.
think so.
Yeah, and that'll give us the ability to make some decisions about warrant articles as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, next on the agenda is discussion from AM LLC/Hub 66, an internet provider for islands.
Yeah, so I got this, I'll take this one on. So I was approached by AM LLC, which is a very good friend of mine growing up, so I will be stepping down, but he has some interesting, Hub 66 is a internet provider for the islands. It's a pretty impressive service, and so AM approached me, and I said I'd bring it forward to the board. So I think Dan is on, and he'll be giving a little presentation, and Michael from Hub 66, but I'll step down.
Hi there. I'm Michael from Hub 66. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone. I think Dan had to step away, but I'll try to make this quick. Basically, we've been providing internet wirelessly to the islands on Lake Winnipesaukee for a few years now, especially in response to the COVID crisis. Everyone was trying to get connected. And we also do fiber optic internet throughout different areas of New Hampshire. And more recently, the state has been trying to allocate money to get to residences all over the state that are unserved, where people just don't have access to higher speed connections. And they have an allocation right now where if a town partners with an internet company to build out internet to those rural places that don't have high speed internet access, the state will cover 75% of the cost to build to those people. So that's kind of the reason for this. The state identified almost 200 homes in Wolfeboro that are considered unserved or underserved, where the speeds just aren't adequate. And if you haven't been talking with an internet company yet, basically up until the 20th of October, you have to submit applications. So we wanted to reach out to Wolfeboro and see if you'd be interested in filing an application with us to see if we can get funds to build internet to unserved places. Throughout that process, Hub 66, we'd fill out the application, we'd identify the addresses the best we can with what the state has identified, and we just basically need a signature from Wolfeboro saying, yeah, we'd like to get involved. Wouldn't cost Wolfeboro any money, would contribute the other 25% that the state doesn't provide to get to those addresses. If you guys have questions, I'd love to answer anything you may have.
I believe I've talked to you before because I was approached by Mr. Kenny, who owns Wassa Radio, about putting a tower up on top of Whittier Mountain.
Sure.
Do you remember that process?
Yep.
Yep. So we've spoken about this before, and I do have friends out on Cow Island who are served by this system, and they say that it works well for them. where is your proposed location? It's on Rattlesnake Island?
So we're not proposing any wireless services under this grant application. It's all fiber optic lines. So we would be putting fiber optic lines on the utility poles and running them directly to people's houses that the state is identifying that are unserved. So this conversation isn't so much about the islands as much as it's about like these areas in like northern Wolfeboro and northeast Wolfeboro that the state is saying, hey, they're not getting fast enough internet.
Okay.
But we don't have anything that shows us here where they're underserved in the town and where you're proposing to put them. Am I correct?
That's correct. So Bureau of Economic, BEA, they actually created a whole map for the whole state where they identified all the streets in every town of what places are considered served and unserved. You can go to the BEA website and actually zone in on Wolfeboro and see that map. It's not super clear because it's not addresses. They just identified everything at the street level, like what's available on segments of streets. So if Wolfeboro is interested in moving forward, we would basically over the next few days, we would drill down and try to identify all those addresses and then provide you with an address list of the people that we believe the state is identifying as unserved and who we'd be trying to reach under this program.
I guess a question I would have is how this would work along with our current supplier we have for internet service and cable in town here. Is there anything?
So there's no state franchise agreements for internet. That's strictly like a cable product. So I know cable has like franchise agreements with different towns, but fiber optic internet isn't governed by like those types of agreements. So we got into this issue when we started building fiber optic internet in Bristol because the town of Bristol had a franchise agreement with their local cable company. And after the town attorneys went through it, they found that the cable franchise agreement does not conflict with us providing internet service in town. Same way like Consolidated providing over DSL, while at the same time the cable companies also provide internet in Wolfeboro.
So what is the, do you know the approximate number of people underserved that this would provide to? You probably said it, but it's out of my head.
Yeah, so the numbers, I can't say the state numbers are 100% accurate, but they're the best estimation that they could do. They identified 58 addresses that they consider unserved, which is such a slow speed. It's like below 25 megabits per second. And that's typically what I would consider like just a DSL connection and no access to cable. And then they're classifying 139 homes in Wolfeboro that have a speed of between 25 and 100 megabits per second, which is like usable, but it's not quite fast enough what they consider high speed anymore.
Okay. And is there going to be any connection costs for these people to hook up to your system?
No. So Hub 66 installs customers at no cost, and then we charge a monthly fee for services just like every other internet provider. Under this program, no one would be required to take services from us. It would just be an option. We'd have lines on the poles, and if people wanted to sign up to get services from us, they could. They could stick with their existing provider. If they wanted to stay with Consolidated or if they have a satellite connection, they could stay with them. It would just give them another option. Right now, our top tier product, which is a full gigabit per second, which is like 1,000 megabits per second, is $89 a month. And we have a lower cost option at $59 a month. So it's very cost competitive, but no residents would be required to take services. It would just be another option for them.
Okay, so we have, let's call it 200 houses. Have you had similar instances like this? What is your percentage of connection that you end up acquiring?
It depends on the market. So like right now we're in the same conversation with Alton and Guilford about applying for the same grant. And so I don't know specifically in your market like what we'll have, but typically when we go into a DSL market where people only have DSL, we typically get 80% of those people that end up signing up for services because they're typically pretty desperate for a higher speed connection. And if it's a cable market, it's typically closer to half, where some people stick with their cable company and some people will choose a fiber optic connection.
Okay, so 50 to 80%.
So did I hear you say we'd have to make a decision by the end of October, October 20th or something?
October 20th, yep. So if you were interested in moving forward today in the basic sense that, hey, we'd like to explore this with Hub 66, we would take the next step of putting together this actual address list and getting all the details together. And then we present it to you, and we would need a signature on the application that Wolfeboro is partnering with us for this application. And I believe the reason the state is doing that is because they've had previous grants where internet companies were all submitting applications for the same towns, and I think it created a lot of confusion. So I think the state was just looking for just one application for a town and an internet company so that there's not overlap in applications.
Okay.
So if you haven't been approached by another internet company at this point, I can't imagine anybody's going to in such a short period of time. But if you wanted to explore other ISPs and their ability to do the same thing, you have a couple-week window where this could happen.
If we say we want to explore it with you and we get more information and then we look at it and it really doesn't do what we want, can we back out of it?
Sure. Yeah, there's no obligation. There's no financial obligation or anything like that. It's just a matter of there's really no downside to Wolfeboro. So I'm just hoping that if we can come to a consensus before this application's due, because the state basically said that they have $25 million set aside for this round, but they're trying to pull another $44 million out of their BEAD funding to keep filling these tranches. So what happens is anybody that submits applications, there's going to be this whole list of applications at the state for all these towns trying to get money to fill these internet gaps. And even if we don't get funded on this round, we believe we'll get funded in like the next round just by having our application in. So I feel like it's going to be a win-win for every town that puts an application in right away, that they'll be in that line where eventually the next round of funding will come to get more services to your town.
Are you working at all with the Carroll County Broadband Committee?
We're not in particular. We're working a lot with the Grafton County group in particular, and we're also doing a lot in Sullivan County right now with Cornish, Grantham, Plainfield, a few towns out there. Around your area, we're working with Guilford and Alton specifically and directly. Carroll County is kind of complicated because a lot of Carroll County is covered by New Hampshire Electric Co-op, which specifically got a big broadband grant for most of the county. So I don't know how active they are right now, and I haven't heard anything from them in quite a while.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck in the mud. I see no problem going forward with this and giving them the option to bring it to us. It's only going to serve maybe 100 to 150 of our citizens by the time they decide to change from their DSL or their cable. But if there's no additional costs, and I can't see a downside to it, I think he could come to us with a proposal. If we have the ability to back out also, so we have an out clause, I see no reason why we shouldn't go forward.
Yeah.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I don't have enough data and understanding of it all from what was here, but if we could go forward and get more of that so we could get a better understanding with knowing that if it didn't fit when we go forward, that we could back out. It doesn't give us much time, October 20th.
Right.
That's the problem.
That's why with a back-out clause, I'm okay going forward with it because we can always just go like this, time out, done, stop.
That's why I asked that question,
Yeah.
because if they aren't served and they aren't served well, it's a very important service to have today.
Yeah.
And so that I think we should at least look into it and get as much information and then, make whether definitely we go ahead or not.
So, Mike, one more question. If someone goes to Hub 66 from DSL or from cable, what kind of contract are they locked into? And are there any penalties and fees if they decide they try it for 2 months, it doesn't work for them, and they want to go back to their cable company?
Hub 66 doesn't do contracts, so everything's month to month. So if someone was unhappy with their service, they could change over to another service another month, the next month over. We try to make everything really simple without like hidden fees or complicated contracts. Everything is just straightforward pricing. Here's the price every month. There's no taxes or fees on that. Okay. So we try to keep it really simple. But when I give you the outline of what we're proposing to do, I'll also give you some references that you can reach out to. Like we have worked with Molten Borough before on getting internet to some uncertain areas. We're in the process of building out the entire town of Bristol right now. And so we have a lot of references we can give you as well, so you can get some feedback.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, so I say again, I would like to give him the okay to go forward because we are short on time and he can do what he needs to do. We will have 3 weeks to look at it and decide whether or not we want to say yes or no still. We can still always pull the plug anytime we want.
Yep. Dave, you have any thoughts or input? Okay, I pretty much agree too. I think it's, at this stage, we can get more information on it by having them go forward with it. We can make a decision by the October 20th and go from there, so.
I'm comfortable. Do we want to do a motion to do that, or?
Could I ask two
Sure.
questions
Yep.
of him first? First of all, have you spoken with Barry from Wolfeboro Municipal Electric about connection agreements to Wolfeboro poles?
Yeah, we've spoken to Barry before. We're still waiting on attachment agreements from Barry. I can't say the process has been fast, but typically with like Eversource or New Hampshire Co-op, like we have attachment agreements with all those providers, but we are waiting on an attachment agreement with Barry.
And the second question would be, are you anticipating running any additional fiber cable through the downtown of Wolfeboro, or is it strictly just the end users that you're connecting? Our downtown poles are already quite full with fiber and other infrastructure, and I'm not sure if we have the capacity to take more on.
Sure. So we're going to have to run fiber lines to these unserved areas, and we may pass by areas that are currently served. And so after we get the construction done and meet the requirements of the state's project, we can start delivering services to other people as well that are considered served, which will give people, another option. We don't have any plans for running through the downtown at the moment. Usually, like what you said with the congestion, when there's a lot of lines on a pole, it also becomes very expensive for us to run those lines. So if there's not unserved people in that downtown area, we're probably not going to run lines down that street unless there was a big demand for it.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we investigate Hub 66 and have them provide us with materials, and so we can better evaluate whether it makes sense for us to move forward or not.
So what does that allow Mike
So
to
we need
do?
a second before we have any more discussion.
Okay. I don't have a second because I have more questions.
Well, we have a second, then we can continue with discussion and
So
ask
somebody else
questions.
second it.
I'll second it for discussion then. Okay.
So my question is, Mike, if we just agree to have you give us more information, does that tie your hands?
No, it's just it's a commitment from us to spend some time putting together what the scope of this will look like. We'll provide a map of the areas that we plan on building to, a list of addresses that we plan on getting to, and then also the cost structures that we're going to put on the application for the state. And then we would just need a decision maker at Wolfeboro to make a decision at that point whether or not we're going to move forward and actually sign the application. So I'll provide probably within a week's time period all that information, and then I would just need a commitment from your board that someone will review this and just get back to us whether we can move forward.
All right, and the drop dead date is the 19th?
Yep, that's correct.
Any other discussion? We have a motion by Linda, seconded by myself. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll look forward to receiving more information from you on that, Mike.
Thank you for your time.
Next on the agenda, discussion regarding the town building rental policy.
Okay, so I looked at our rental policy for municipal buildings, and our rental policy says that it's open to rental by the general public, nonprofits, whatever, but it's not allowed to be rented by for any religious events. And the wording to me is a little open-ended. If a church didn't have a hall and wanted to have a church social here, a dance or something like that, it's a no. We don't allow that. I guess as a board we could overrule our own policy. Well, why have a policy if you overrule a policy? Why make a rule if you're going to keep changing it? We, however, don't have anything in it that says that we would have the ability to stop the rental to say if Homeland Security or the FBI or another group had a list with, say, domestic terrorists on it, domestic terrorist organizations, we don't have any way of stopping them unless we say, nope, we're not going to allow you to rent. That could open up a lawsuit against us. We have to understand some definitions. Some definitions are a public forum. If you look up the definition of a public forum, that states that a public forum is a public roadway, public sidewalk, or an outside public area. Those areas are protected by our constitutional rights under the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment. And anybody is allowed to speak at those areas however they want. However, talking to two constitutional law attorneys and the New Hampshire Municipal Association, I found out that our municipal buildings are not a public forum. So anybody who tries to call them the same is incorrect. Our municipal building, we have the purview in our building to put in any type of regulation we want to who and how we want to rent it. So I just think that we should, going forward, look at our policy and maybe adjust our policy. Maybe it's worked for the last 20 years. It's a different time today than it was 20 years ago. There are a lot more unusual things happening in small communities and large communities. So I would like to see if maybe we can look at that policy and make the policy a little bit cleaner. I don't want to stop anybody's rights of free speech. I don't want to invade on the First or the 14th Amendment. But I do think, like we are now having a sidewalk policy, which we're going to have to add now a parking space policy to, we should have a policy that is current, that works for our municipal buildings. Just a take.
Linda.
We have multiple policies for building. We have a use policy for this facility. There's something different, I think, for the Abenaki. I'm not quite sure why we're trying to change these policies now, what brings that up, and what we have for this use policy for the town hall has worked. There hasn't been any kind of incident, so I don't see at this particular time that I would feel that we have to go through all our policies and change them.
I think we should have a universal policy, something that works for all venues and works and keeps the citizens in town safe, keeps our buildings safe, and allows any group to have a peaceful, productive policy or event in our municipal buildings. And I just think that our current policy, if you read it for our municipal buildings and for Abenaki, and they're not all there together the way they should be. That's my opinion.
I think I kind of agree with Lynn a little bit here, because I think each building offers different features that would kind of tailor to what type of event you could have at it. So I think they would need to be individual still, and be looked at individually as the applications come in. I don't know, I still feel comfortable that we have that option of if there's a group that we feel isn't a right fit for it, I think we can say no to it. I don't think there's a law out there that says we have to rent to everybody if they're a nonprofit and for whatever they want to do in the building. I think we have that option as a municipality to say yes or no to the use of our facilities, and I'm comfortable with it that way.
Unfortunately, that's not correct. Well, because if you talk to the attorneys, if you don't have a policy in place that stipulates who you will not rent to, you do not have the right to say no, because they have the constitutional right, based on the First and the 14th Amendment, to rent your facility. If you do, you have opened yourself up to a freedom of speech lawsuit.
I just am not worried about people wanting to rent these facilities who are such that we wouldn't want them to rent them. This is a community space. Our public buildings are community space, and we haven't had any incident that makes me say, oh, we better go back over and look at these policies, and we better take a look at them. And so that's why I'm comfortable. If we were having issues, if we had having destruction, if we were having fights break out, if we were having, different kind of behavior that was not acceptable, I'd be with you right away, Brian. But the use of this facility, we haven't had any kind of an issue. So I guess I'm not there yet. I may be in, 6 months if that's what we are experiencing, and then we can come through and change a bunch of policies. But right now, I don't particularly feel a need that this, I'm looking right now at the use policy for this facility, and there is a line that says that the facility is to be used by the town and nonprofit groups and is not to be utilized for religious or commercial use. And if we have a bunch of religious groups that want to use it, we can take a look at that. We particularly said no commercial use because we wanted to we didn't put in a regular kitchen. We put in a kitchen that food would have to be brought in order to have this facility to support the downtown. And that's where there was some real thought in putting this use policy together.
I just look at, we had no policy for trails and whatnot at the spray fields, and we had no policies for sidewalks, and we ran into trouble with those two things because we didn't have a policy. We waited till already the snowball was rolling down the hill to throw ourselves in front of it.
Well,
so when I see something where there's a chance to hopefully create something where we have no issue going forward and to be proactive, I believe in being proactive.
And I take a look at the sidewalks, and we didn't have any issue with the sidewalks before COVID. The times have changed, and as that change came through, we're reacting to it and putting in the sidewalks. What happened down in the spray fields, the Board of Selectmen didn't know about those trails in Abenaki. There was not permission granted for those trails, and shame on us, we don't walk all our property and make sure we know what's happening. But I think you change with the times when it's obvious that it needs to take place. And that's when I say to you, if 6 months from now we see it, then I'm more than willing. But I don't feel it or see it in the behavior that's, at least in this great hall, that would make me want to change what we have.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Move on.
Okay.
Not a word?
Other business. Do we have anything else under other business this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports. Brian.
I watched some planning board and ZBA meetings on TV, but I had no other meetings this week.
I had zoning board, but it's been pretty quiet, but apparently looking at our schedule now, it's going to get very busy very quickly here.
Yes.
Quietness will be done. I had meeting the Friends of Pop Whalen. The last night, Wolfeboro Committee met. We are going to have wildlife encounters. We're looking at putting skating on again at Brewster, bingo over at Anderson Hall, games up here in the Great Hall. We have fireworks scheduled for December 31st with the rain date of December 30th. And the reason we did that is that 31st is a Sunday. We figured by a Monday night, nobody was going to be here, and we're just going to have to kind of hope that we can read the weather enough to decide which of the 2 nights to put it on. So we're moving along. We always can use volunteers, so if anybody's interested in being part of that committee, give me a call. I walked around with a group from Russ Pond. We were supposed to meet a engineer there, and for some reason there was a mix-up in time, and I was surprised at the damage that was done in front of at least one house from those beaver dams breaking. They literally can't even use their waterfront. I just, so I'm glad the town is moving forward with that. Definitely is something that needs to be addressed. I had a library trustees meeting. Brian, you and I finalized went to a final CIP meeting.
Yep.
I also went to a landscaping meeting with the library, talking about the landscaping between the building and the parking lot, which was supposed to be a rain garden that hasn't been working, so they're looking at maybe redoing that. So that's all I had.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I actually haven't had any, as I couldn't make the planning board meeting last night, so other than that, I haven't had any other committee meetings. Dave?
I've had none.
Thank you. Town managers report.
Had a follow-up meeting with PSI regarding the Northern Borders grant for their electrical infrastructure upgrades. We're working on a MOU. That MOU will contain an appendix. That appendix will be some contract language that outlines while the town owns the infrastructure, they are responsible for all maintenance, repairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're holding a brief meeting on October the 10th at 1 o'clock in this room for people who are connecting to the Sewell and Forest Road sewer connections. There's some dialogue and confusion about the types of pumps that are needed, how the connections occur, and we will have an environmental engineer. We will have the engineer who designed the system. We will have the contractor here to talk about the means and methods for installation. So that will be happening, and that they're scheduled to start on that project down there about that same time frame. And lastly, in front of you, I just got a copy of the updated plan for the signs out at the spray fields, looking for feedback from the board. Does this meet what you are looking for at this point? If it does, we will go forward with the printing of the signs. They will be on a metallic, and they will be that pink in color that we had previously. I just didn't want to print them in color.
What color?
I believe it's like a pink.
Like a pink.
I have one little thing, is if we do this and it takes us a while to do it and our spray fields are off, should we wait until the spring to put them up so we don't spend a winter getting them?
Yeah. It's probably going to take them a little while to get the signs anyways. Snow will be on the ground, so yeah, it makes sense to do that in the spring.
So we start spraying the 15th of April, so we would like them installed by around the 1st of April?
I will put that in my note to Mr. Didium.
Yep, makes sense.
Is it possible to have some on our map that we have of the area, have a location of where they're going to, or they anticipate putting the signs?
We can do that.
That would be good.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Just so we know, especially when we walk out and we say, hey, the sign's gone.
Yep.
I got wet.
We can have that done. And then lastly, budgets. We've been feverishly in those, and the ambulance plan. Other than that, that's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions from the press? Alyssa, you still with us?
Oh, I'm with you, yes. I don't have any, thank you, Brad.
Okay. Public input.
You're up, Josephine.
First, I have to get something clear because you confused me, Mr. Harriman.
Could you state your name for the record?
What is the difference between being on the agenda and public input?
Being on the agenda, you have a certain subject that you're bringing up to the board for discussion with the board. Public input, you have the opportunity to speak on basically anything that you wish to within a time limit that's allotted for that time frame according to our policies here.
I don't know what you just said.
Well, I don't know how to say it any clearer.
What is the difference on what you don't know what the people are going to talk about.
That's right.
So you can't, all right. So what you're saying is, to be on the agenda, you have to know what is going to be on my agenda.
Correct.
Okay. Now, another
Josephine-
thing that you're confusing me, let me finish. You said, you made a statement saying, well, we put you on the agenda last time and you didn't show up.
Correct.
All right. Does that mean if I don't show up, and I have a good reason, that means that I can't be put on the agenda again?
You have to speak to get put back on the agenda. It doesn't happen automatically. You would have to contact the office and request another appointment to be put on the agenda for the following meeting.
You request it?
Yes.
So where can they stop you? What legal right do they have to stop you? Because they don't like what you're going to say?
No.
So why is there discretion?
You can-
If a
you can
person
be-
wants to be on there, she's on
You
there.
can be put on the agenda.
What?
You can be put on the agenda if you put in the request, which you did before.
All right, so it's automatic.
No, it's not automatic. If you don't make your appointment, it doesn't happen automatically for the next meeting. You have to request again
Oh,
to
you
be
mean
put
there
on.
has to be a space?
Right.
Oh, all right. Why didn't you say
Okay.
that?
Well, it's kind of what I was saying, but okay, we're there now.
Okay, what did you say?
That was just one, I was just saying that you had been on the agenda, and exactly what Brad had said, we didn't keep you off the agenda, you didn't show. And if you had requested for today, you could have been on it. There's
Yeah,
nothing
so what?
stopping us from.
So what? So
I
I didn't
just
show
was-
up. I had a reason not to show up.
I-
People
sorry.
always don't
Well-
show up. There's always someone that doesn't show up. So I don't see why that's an issue, period. Now, can I request to be on the agenda here, or do I have to go to Mr. Pinio in the town hall to request it?
You go to Amy.
What?
You would go to Amy.
I would go to Amy.
That is correct.
So can she put it in writing that I'm on the agenda? Or how do I know that I'm definitely going to be on the agenda?
You review the agenda in advance. The agenda is always available the Friday before the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Always available?
Yes, it's always posted.
All right, so that means you can't say no. So if I request it, then I'm automatically on. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
Are you saying that I request it and I consider myself already on?
If you request to be placed on the agenda with a topic, Amy will put you on the agenda.
So what if you don't have room for me on the agenda? Will you let me know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, so would let me know? All right. My name is Josephine Amatucci, and this is for the people. Listen to me, for the people, because you have to make sure this happens. I am proposing to hold a 50-50 raffle in the library, where 50% of the proceeds of the raffle goes to the winner of the raffle ticket, and the other 50% will go to the poor people in the town under the auspices of the welfare department of the town of Wolfeboro. There will be a donation also given to the library for their inconvenience, if any, to have the raffle in the library. So from the 50% that goes to the welfare, the library will get a portion, and of course the expenses to hold the raffle will be deducted also. But then the remaining money, and we're talking a lot of money every month. As the people could hear, everybody that came on this podium tonight were looking for money. Money, money. Everybody needs money. Now, only 6,000 tickets will be sold. There's a little more than 6,000 people living in Wolfeboro. So only 6,000 tickets will be sold to make it easier to win. The tickets will be $5 per ticket, which means if all sold, which you can be sure they will be, $15,000 will go to the winner, which is a lot of money, and that $15,000, you can be sure, is going to change somebody's life. The raffle will be held every month. At the beginning of the raffle, at the start of the raffle, my idea is to put it on an honor system. That means there's going to be no machine, and there's going to be no people, no volunteers yet, because we don't know if they're going to show up or not, and I want this to go on automatic. I want it to be successful. So my idea is that it's an honor system. There's going to be a safety deposit box where the money goes in, the $5, and then there's going to be the tickets where people get one ticket. So they put their $5 in the box, and they get a ticket. And that's called an honor system. And there will be a camera there, too, to watch people doing this. The deposit box is for the money, and I want it close to where the employees work so that there can be some sort of view going on, established, as to whether the honor system is working. Placing money in a box and picking up a ticket does not cause any disruption whatsoever in the library. The name of the game, which I already passed it by the department, in Concord. I got the name licensed, and the name is going to be the Wolfeboro 50/50 Raffle. I have the certificate of registration here. The raffle is a duty of the town under the law that says a municipality has the duty to help the poor. Therefore, there is no way this municipality is going to stop my idea.
Any other public input this evening? Suzanne? Ann? Okay, thank you. I'd entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Linda. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.